Hello, welcome to another Q&A live on White Davy Gardening and Worm Farm. So today we are going to be sharing our garden tips and tricks. Hopefully I'll be able to learn a lot from you guys and some of you may be able to learn something from me. Hi CC, how are you? It's now the end of summer for most of us, so I'm hoping that you had a wonderful summer. Hi Helpy, Miss Busy Lady, although we're all busy. Yes, I hope you guys had a lovely summer. Okay, you're doing well, Cece. That's good. Okay, let me just move this thing out of my way. I'm doing okay too, Cece. I'm doing okay. Yeah, quite busy. This is one of the busiest week for me, although I don't know which week I've had that's not busy, but it's been a pretty busy week, although it just got started. But I'm doing okay. Yeah, so if you have any garden tip that you would like to share with the viewers, then that would be awesome. And I'm going to be sharing some tips as well. So, one of the things that I want to discuss is the splitting of tomatoes. Okay, sometimes you have your tomatoes and they're looking quite nice on the tomato plant, and the next thing you know, you see your tomatoes splitting. And so, one of my friends asked me the other day, why is it that tomatoes split? Now, this is a very common problem for tomatoes. And the reason why tomato split is because the fruit is actually growing at a faster rate than the skin is. So as it gets tight, it will split. Now, this is caused when the plant gets a large increase of water suddenly. For example, it rains heavily, then that can encourage the tomatoes to split. Oh, hi, Han White. How are you? Yes, so that can encourage the tomato to split. So whether it is a large amount of water suddenly, whether from overwatering the plant or from rain, that is what usually causes the tomato, the fruit to grow faster than the skin and result in it splitting. Unfortunately, even though the fruit is edible, when your tomato split, it can be dangerous for the tomato in the sense that now that the fruit is open, it can invite bacteria to enter the tomato. Hi, Melanie. How are you doing? Oh, so Melanie, regarding those okra seeds, do you still want them? And if so, I'm not sure if I still have your information, so you might have to resend it if you still want those okra seeds. I'm doing white. I'm doing well and white. Yes, I'm doing well. Yes, so once the tomato split, if bacteria gets inside of it, then that can encourage the tomatoes to rot. Okay, so how can we fix or at least prevent this problem? Because once the tomato split, you cannot undo it. But how can we prevent this situation from happening? Well, we cannot really control rainfall, and that is the number one reason why the tomatoes will split. But there are several steps that we can take to ensure that if it rains heavily or if it rains for too long, then this won't happen. So one of the things is to make sure that we water the tomato plants regularly, giving it 1 to 2 inches of water at least once per week. because you don't want to overwater because that is going to cause splitting as well. So if you give it 1 to 2 inches of water each week, then that is enough where the plant is accustomed to getting a reasonable amount of water so that when it rains, it won't go into shock and then cause the tomatoes to grow too fast. Another thing that you can do is to plant your tomato in well-drained soil, because if you plant the tomatoes in well-drained soil, even if it rains heavily, the water will drain off. And if you have soil that doesn't really drain water quickly, or maybe you have soil that is not even, what you can do is dig trenches that drains the water away from the garden, and that will help to control the tomatoes splitting. Now, another thing that you can do to ensure that the plants have sufficient water but not too much is to add some amount of mulch, and you prefer the type of mulch that is going to retain some amount of moisture. So add about 2 to 3 inches of that to your around your tomato plants. And don't allow your tomatoes plant to the soil around your tomato plant to go dry, because then that will encourage the splitting as well whenever you decide to water the plant. So try to keep it moist but just not too much water. Okay, Melanie says, yes, I do. We'll send information. And when all my seeds dry, I will send you the seeds, I promise you. Okay, thanks, Melanie. Yes. So, what about you guys? Do you have any tips regarding gardening that you would like to share? Don't worry, even if it is a simple one, it doesn't really matter, because there are always people who are new to gardening. And even if we're not new to gardening, we might be new to growing a particular type of plant or flowers, whatever it may be. So, whatever tip, it doesn't matter if it is considered a simple one, yes or no. If you want to share, that would be good. Yes, so another common problem in gardening for those who grow plants that produce fruits is bottom end rot. Yes, so bottom end rot is caused by a number of reasons, and it is caused by lack of calcium in the soil, or sometimes the calcium can be present in the soil, but then there is not enough moisture in the soil for the plant to be able to absorb the calcium. So that can encourage bottom end rot. If there is root damage, that can encourage bottom end rot as well, because with the roots damaged, it won't be able to uptake the nutrients that the plant need, which includes the calcium, which causes the bottom end rot. Having too much nitrogen in your soil too can encourage bottom end rot, and that is because the plant is going to be, once the foliage of the plant is growing, it's going to need all the other types of nutrients as well. So it won't be able to focus or send the calcium to the fruits. Yes. Now, calcium is vital to certain fruit production, but without moisture, as I said, then the plant cannot absorb the calcium. So another reason why plants may end up with bottom end rot is if we plant our seedlings too early while the soil is cold. I don't know the science behind it, but it is said that if the soil is too cold and we're transplanting our seedlings, then that can cause the fruit to end up with bottom end rot. Let's see. And White says she's never had that problem. And Melanie says she had some of that this year on her tomatoes. Okay. Oh, hi, Russell. How are you? Russell says, my number one tip, use a liberal amount of castings when planting, start in the garden. Okay. Yes, that's a very good tip for so many reasons because the castings has so many benefits. If it is seeds that you're planting in your garden, then it's good for helping with germination. It helps to protect the seeds from certain pathogens that may be present in the soil. It also acts as a pesticide, so and it provides the nutrients that the seedlings need. So yes, I definitely agree with that tip, Russell. So good advice, good tip. Yes. So as I was saying, transplanting seedlings when the soil is too cold may encourage bottom end rot as well. Now, what are some of the fruits that can end up with bottom end rot? Tomatoes and peppers are the most commonly known ones, especially your tomato plants. The tomatoes are the first to show signs that it doesn't have enough calcium. So your tomatoes, your peppers, your eggplants, your watermelons, your pumpkin, your squash, zucchinis, and stuff like that. These plants are prone to bottom end rot, so you want to ensure that you have sufficient moisture and the calcium, and that you don't have too much nitrogen, especially at the point where the plant is starting to produce fruits. You want to make sure that the right condition is available because then, once the bottom end rot develop, it cannot be undone. You can prevent other fruits that are growing on the plant from having the bottom end rot, but the ones that develop it, you cannot correct that problem. So, keeping these points in mind can be pretty helpful. And like you, Melanie, I had bottom end rot this year with my tomatoes that were that I was using for my experiment with the casting versus compost. And I also had it with my tomatoes that were in the raised beds with the pepper. Hi, Black Tropical Homestead. Soil Bros and Soil Sisters. Blessings. Yes, so I had it with my tomatoes. Well, the peppers in the raised bed didn't have it, but the tomatoes, some of them, particularly one plant, had it. And sometimes we had drought, so it could be the drought that was causing it, even though I was watering the plant. Maybe it wasn't getting enough moisture, I do not know. I had castings and castings and eggshells to the bin or to the raised bed, but it still end up with the bottom end rod. But one thing that I didn't take into consideration as to why it was having the bottom end rod is the fact that that raised bed definitely had too much nitrogen in there from the compost that I had it last fall. So that could have been the reason because with all the eggshells, I had it eggshells and castings before I transplanted the tomatoes. I put it directly into the holes that I was growing the tomatoes in. And over the period of time that the tomato was growing, I keep adding the eggshells and castings to it. So I couldn't figure out why it is that it was still having the bottom end rot. So, and I even used milk to try to see if I could correct the problem. So now I know that it could be because I added too much nitrogen to that bed. So that's something I'll have to definitely take note of from here onwards. Now let's see. And why it says whenever you come across a pest or an insect that you have never seen in your garden, please research it. If not, you might lose your plants. Good tip. Very good tip. Yes. Unfortunately, I learned my lesson well where that is concerned for this year. Hopefully, I won't make the same mistake next year. There are so many do's and don'ts that I'm going to have to write down into my records, my garden records book, to ensure that I remember them because sometimes because it happened to us, we might think that, oh, I will remember that. That's easy to remember. But we've got so much on our minds that sometimes we can't remember everything. So I'm definitely going to have to jot down all of those do's and don'ts so that I don't make the same mistakes where those pests are concerned. Yes. Now, another tip is regarding why pumpkins and melons and squash and other vegetables or fruits like these take a long time to produce the female flower. Now, the number one reason is that if the plant is too small, then the plant will not produce the female fruit because the plant knows that it is too small to support the weight or the size of the fruit that it is going to be producing. So, for that reason, the plant will not produce the female flower on time. Another thing is if it is overly hot, then it won't produce the female flower. Another thing is drought stress. That too will cause the plant to not produce the female flower. And if you plant your squash, melon, zucchini, or any members of that family close together, then they are going to be in, they're going to be too shaded. And when there is too much shade, the plant will not produce the female flower. And if the soil is flooded, that too can prevent the plant from producing the female flower. So these are some of the reasons why members of the pumpkin and melon family may not produce the female flower, even if it is producing the male flowers. Let's see. And White says, I lost almost all of my herbs that way. I had leafhoppers. Yes, I almost lose a lot of my plants too for the same thing reason. I had the leafhoppers, but it's the first time I'm experiencing them. Thankfully, because I know that worm casting is not only good as a pesticide, but it is also good at revitalizing plants that are not well. So thankfully, because of that, and I had the castings available, so I was able to make worm tea frequently, and that helped to save the plant. Although it didn't get rid of the problem, but at least it helped to strengthen the plant so that they were able to still grow. They were stunted, but they were able to grow and produce fruits. Unfortunately, though, because I waited so long, most of the damage was already done. So, even though the plants produce fruits, the fruits are, some of them are smaller than they should be. And then some of them, they took forever to start producing. And when they start producing, they took forever to reach maturity. In fact, the growing season has ended for most of my plants. And a lot of them did not really make it to maturity, but it's a learning curve. And as we go and as we share these information, hopefully others will benefit from it and not make the same mistakes. Yes. Now, there's one problem that I was asked if I know why it was happening, and at that point in time, I did not. And that is when your strawberry flowers start to turn brown, what caused it and what can be done to prevent it. So we're going to discuss that for a little bit. Yes, so the strawberry flowers will turn brown because it is suffering from what is called gray mold, or it is also called botrytis fruit rot. And the symptoms usually appear on the flower of the plant. Both the petal and the stems may turn brown and they may eventually rot. Let's see. And White says, I made worm tea, but I had too many of them, so I had to cut them back. And now I haven't got a lot of them, but they are still in my garden. That's the sad thing about pests because once they get out of hand, it's really a challenge to fully eradicate them. Sometimes it's not even possible to eradicate every single one of them, but at least we're able to get them under control. Hi, her healthy home. Yeah, so at least we're able to get them under control, which is the most important thing. So now that they're in your garden and in mine, we will just have to make sure that whenever we're planting, we are on the lookout for them. And as the first sign that they are reappearing, we just keep treating as much as possible, as often as possible, to ensure that they won't breed up in the garden and cause too much harm. Yes, so regarding the strawberries, the flowers on the strawberry turning brown, it's because of the disease called gray mold or botrytis fruit rot. And it damaged both the petals of the flowers and the stem of the flowers. Hi, Pit Stop. How are you? And how are you, her healthy home? Yeah, so we're talking about garden tricks and tips. So if you have any that you would like to share with the audience, then that would be awesome. Yes, so as I mentioned, it affects both the petals and the stem of the flowers, and sometimes the fruit may even rot. And even after harvesting, even if the fruit looks good, you will find that the fruit rot very quickly, so it cannot really be stored unless, of course, you're going to freeze it or put it in the fridge right away. Then that can slow down the growth of this mold. See, and White says, I will be covering my garden next year if it is the Lord's will. Yes, I would love to do the same too, but I don't think I'll be able to cover all of my garden because that would be rather expensive. But I'm gonna try to see how much of it I can get covered because that would be nice. And then those plants that are most prone to pests, then at least I'll be able to keep those ones safe. Although it seems as if every year I plan for one or a particular set of pests, but then those pests decide not to show up and other pests keep showing up. So every year it's a different set of pests that I have to deal with. But we'll see what happens as they come. I'm gaining more experience. So we'll see what pest I'm going to be having next year. At least I'm better equipped to deal with the ones that I've had before. Yes, so sometimes if the strawberries have this gray mold, then you will find that the fruit, even though it is growing, it is misshaped. The fruit is still edible, so that's the good thing. So what can you do to correct this problem? One thing that you want to do is when you plant your strawberries, make sure there is sufficient space between the plants because this will improve the airflow and this will help the plants to dry off quickly. And especially after a shower of rain or after watering the plants, you want to have enough airflow to dry the plant off as quickly as possible. Let's see. And White says, I won't cover my peppers nor my tomatoes. Oh, okay. Pit Stop says, I'll definitely cover the garden beds with nets this year. I already got invaded with cabbage loopers. My husband said 70 to 80 in one container. Oh my goodness. That's a lot. Yeah, the pests they're really a problem. It's not that we have to cover the plants because when we do it kind of depending on what we're using, it may very to a small extent or to a large extent depending on what we're using to cover the garden. It may keep out some of the sunlight and sometimes what we're covering are plants that actually love the full sun, but it's a give and take situation. So We don't really seem to have much of a choice where these pests are concerned. Something has to be done in order to ensure that at least we'll be able to harvest something. Me too and white have never seen cabbage loopers. Oh, they ate everything. Oh, that's awful. Okay, you're covering with just mesh netting. See, LP says tip. Don't wait to see squash vine borers. If you know they are in your state or country or region, cover the base of your squash plant with aluminum foil or netting over the whole plant. That's a very good tip. Yes, I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for that. I've never really seen them, never had to deal with them, but it's a possibility. And since as I've never seen them, and every year I keep having new pests and getting rid of the old ones, so definitely next year, if I'm growing the squash and the squash related plants, I'm going to try to use that aluminum foil at the base of the plant to protect them, just in case. Pitstop says they look like tiny green worms. Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for those too. I'm going to have to look them up anyway. Okay, comes from a moth. So cabbage loopers and cabbage moth are okay. So cabbage loopers, they're definitely different from the cabbage moth caterpillars. That's what I was about to ask. Yeah, they're viciously terrible creatures. I agree with you. Never had the experience with the loopers, but the cabbage moth caterpillars. I don't know, my cabbage, I can't seem to grow a nice cabbage here because of those pests, but because I am not really growing a lot of cabbage, so I don't really worry too much about it. But I'm going to be growing. I intend to grow more Chinese cabbage next year, so I'm definitely gonna have to do something about those cabbage moths caterpillar because I cannot be in a race with them for my cabbage, especially my Chinese cabbage. I don't mind the other cabbage so much, but for my Chinese cabbage, I don't want to be competing with them for it at all. Let's see. Pit Stop says yes, LP. And White says I've never seen squash vine borers. LP says it's like I've got a buffet of cabbage, whatever's. Hmm. Oh Lord. Let's see. LP says I hope you don't have them around and White. Yeah, I hope so too. The moth is beautiful. Squash vine borer moth. She's red, but her grubs. Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to look them up, look up those moths as well to see what they look like. And White says I won't research them because whenever I do, they ended up in my garden. You're saying by looking them up, you're actually inviting them in your garden. Okay. I'm going to look them up. I want to see if they're going to appear in my garden. But anyway, I'm going to look them up because it's nice to know what they look like so that if I'm talking about them, I can say, okay, this is what they look like and stuff like that. Let's see. And why it says she to LP. Okay, so yes, we were looking at the problems with strawberry flowers turning brown, and we were looking at the remedies. So we said that planting them with sufficient space between them is important. But then there are some strawberries that do not send runners, and then there are some strawberry plants that do send runners. Now, as far as I know, the ones that don't send runners, they are that way because the growers modify them to ensure they don't send runners so that they can increase their sales because if you like the type of strawberries that you got from them, you have to return to them to get more. So as far as I know, they have been modified so that they do not send runners. But then where spacing your strawberries are concerned, because they do send runners, then you have to decide if you have enough space for those runners to remain in that garden, or if you need to transplant them to another location or get rid of them. But yes, spacing is very important where this gray mold is concerned. Now, if you find that you're starting to have the gray mold, then it is a good idea not to top water your strawberries. You want to either use drip irrigation or you bottom water the plants. And if you're watering your strawberries, you want to ensure that the top 6 to 8 inches of the soil is wet and you water them only once per week. Let's see. Melanie says diatomaceous earth saved her cabbage. Yes, diatomaceous earth. Oh my goodness, I love diatomaceous earth. It is so good. I remember how my garden was last year with those aphids and spider mites, and tried different remedies and ended up with problems. And the diatomaceous earth, it did a wonderful job. And I like the fact that the pests don't seem to get used to it because it is just crushed rock. So how do you get used to crushed rock if it is always cutting you? So yes, I really do like the diatomaceous earth. LP says, oh really, Melanie? How did you use it and how close to harvest? I will let Melanie answer that one. Excuse me. And White says, I didn't know that. I normally get mine from our local supermarkets. The strawberries, yeah. Yes, I didn't know that also. I noticed that when I went to one location where I usually buy my strawberries, it usually have those that don't send runners and those that send runners. And so I did a bit of research on strawberries, and while doing the research, I come across the fact that there are those strawberry plant suppliers who will actually modify their strawberries specifically so that it does not send runners. Hi, Farming in the City with Stacy. I was thinking about you as I was discussing this section, Stacy, because you were asking about why your strawberry flowers were turning brown. So I just finished discussing why it turned brown. I don't know if you heard the discussion, but we were saying that the strawberry tends to turn brown because the flowers turn brown because of a disease that is called gray mold, or it is also known as botrytis fruit rot, and it affects both the stem of the flowers and the petals of the flowers, and of course the fruit can rot as well. And even after harvesting the fruit can rot. So you either have to use it very quickly after you've harvested the fruit. It can cause the fruit to be shaped funny. But if you're going to put down the strawberry or store it, it's best to either put it in the fridge or to freeze it. Yes, and we said that to prevent this gray mold, it's a good idea to plant the strawberries with sufficient space between them so that you have a good airflow, because the airflow will help to keep the plants dry, because this mold tend to love moisture. And then it is also said that if you have this problem, do not water your strawberry foliage, just water the root of the plant. That will also help to control the mold. And you water the strawberries only once per week with 6 to 8 inches. Make sure the soil depth is wet to 6 to 8 inches. You're welcome, my dear. Now let's see. Let's scroll up back. Okay, I guess they're saying greetings to Stacy. LP says, I have BT and white, and I thought I could get away without it. Crazy me. But then I just keep swearing that I'm still going to use it. Yes, at Russell's suggestion, I went and got the BTI. And the funny thing is, it is still sitting in my van all now, and that's been what, 3 months? 3 months, and I haven't used it yet. I don't know. I don't know. 3 months and I haven't used it, but I guess I had so much going on this month. This summer, it's a bit crazy, but hopefully next year things will be different. There's always unforeseen occurrences that we cannot control, but at least hopefully next year I'll be even more organized than this year and have more things under control. Let's see. Okay, LP saying hi to Stacy. Melanie says, when the worms started to eat the plants, I started to use it, but have to repeat after watering or rain. Yes, the good thing about the diatomaceous earth is that it is very effective because it's not something the pests can get used to. The sad thing about it though is that once it gets wet, it's not as effective as when it is dry, so you have to wait for it to get dry again. So in that case, it's a good idea to water the foliage, not the foliage, sorry, to water the root of the plants if you're using the diatomaceous earth. That way, the diatomaceous earth will last longer. Sometimes there's wind that will blow it off the plants, but for the most part, it is very good. Yes. And if it is on the plant and it gets wet, when it is dry again, it will regain its effectiveness. But like Melanie says, if it is wet or after watering, if it gets washed off the plant, then you have to reuse it. And then the good thing about it, you can use it on the foliage and you can also put it around the base or the root of your plants as well. The bad thing about it though is that it is not partial, which means that if you have small beneficial insects on your plants and you're using it to control pests, then the diatomaceous earth will affect both the good and the bad ones. Yes, Stacy says it was the bloom that turns brown. Yes. So that is what the gray mold or the botrytis fruit rot affects. It affects the bloom or the flower of the plant. Yes, I'm happy for you too, Stacy, that it's no longer happening. I see that you're actually harvesting some of your strawberries already. So that's pretty good. Okay, Melanie saying hi. And White is saying, could you send it to me, please? Are you asking about the diatomaceous earth, Han? He's laughing. She says, we're the same. Yes, we have the BT, but we're not using it. And the good thing with the BT is that we don't really have to worry about it because it is not artificial. So we don't really have to worry about it too much. Let's see. Where am I? Okay, Erhel the home is saying hi to Stacy. Melanie says, next year I will buy strawberry starters. Have no luck starting my own. Okay. Well, we have to go by whatever works, right? Yes. I attempted to grow strawberries several times. I was able to harvest strawberries last year. I was able to harvest strawberries this year, but this year would have been my best strawberry harvest had it not been for the birds, those magpies. Thankfully, there are some stray cats running around the neighborhood. I don't know where they're coming from, but all of a sudden, there are cats running around in my yard chasing the birds. Too bad for the other type of bird, but if they catch the magpies, I don't mind. Sounds like a bad thing to say, but it's the truth. If they catch the magpies, I don't mind because the magpies are chasing away the other birds, and I'd rather have the other birds than the magpies because they're so noisy, and then they're killing the young ones from from other birds and stuff like that. So I don't mind if the cats catch them. They can catch every last one of them. Yes, but yes, so I would have had a really nice strawberry harvest this year, but the birds got to it. But last year wasn't too bad. Previous years, the strawberries would grow, they would flower and everything, but then all of a sudden, as soon as the strawberry ripened, they would just go mushy or rot. And I didn't know what was causing that. The flower didn't turn brown or anything like that. They're growing normally. And then as soon as the strawberry starts to ripen, they just rot. So we'll see next year. And then the plants are spreading out quite fast this year. So we'll see what happens where strawberries are concerned next year. I'm looking forward to be able to harvest a good amount instead of just one and two here and there. In fact, I might even just create a bed simply for strawberries. Let's see, LP says, okay, Melanie, I do know that about it getting wet. Do you just dump it all over the plant? I usually just sprinkle a small amount over the plant. I have a bottle that I bought my first set of diatomaceous earth in, and it has one of those nozzle, I'll say, like that you would find in an oil bottle. You know, those are the oil that you would drip in your sewing machine with those little cone shaped tip. Yes, so that's what the diatomaceous earth that I bought for the first time came in. So I just keep that bottle and refill it whenever I'm going to be applying diatomaceous earth and just squeeze it and let a puff of the diatomaceous earth spread over the plant. So that's how I do it. I don't know how Melanie does hers. Let's see. And why it says both. I must be missing something. So Anwet asks, can you send it to me, please? And then her next reply is both. Her next reply is some diatomaceous earth. Okay. You said both, but the diatomaceous earth and what else? Okay, Melanie says she just sprinkled it over the plants. LP says, that's how I thought it's used. Thank you. Okay, and says, my mom normally sows strawberry seeds from shop bought ones. I try to, but with no luck either. Um, I tried it with the store bought strawberries as well, but everything that you get here seem to be harvested before they're fully mature, so nothing happens. Because the seeds, when we get strawberries here, the seeds are not black. The seeds are white or green. They're not black. And if the seeds are not black, it means that they are not mature. And sometimes, occasionally, you might find one and two black seeds, and I don't know, they still don't grow. But then if I buy the strawberry seeds and plant them, then they will germinate. But the store bought strawberries, no, not fortunate with getting those to germinate at all. Let's see. Stacy says, why is it so hard though, Han? I don't know. I really don't know what's going on with it. I know that sometimes the seeds will look dark, but they are not fully mature yet. So I don't know what the story is, because I know some people put the strawberries in the fridge and let it stay in there and actually germinate, and they would end up with tons of strawberry seedlings on the one straw on just one strawberry. So I don't know the full process of it. I don't At least I don't recall the full process of it. But I know that there are some who will put the strawberries in the fridge and let it stay in there and actually germinate. See, Melanie says, have lots of wild strawberries, but they have no taste. Yuck. Hush, my dear, hush. I have the wild strawberries that we took from a friend's property, and it produced strawberries for the first time this year. I think we've had it for 3 years, and they keep spreading. I have them in a container, and then they hang over the side of the container. So now they're starting to grow in my yard around the container. They produced for the first time this year just a few. They had lots of flowers, but just a few strawberries on them. But the strawberries are forever so tiny. It feels like a waste of time. A waste of time to actually eat them because they're just so small. So I don't know. I'll see what happens with them next year, if they're going to be bigger or if that's the size that they're going to be growing to all the time. Because if they're not going to grow any larger than that, then I'll just root them up and put the domesticated strawberries there. Let's see. Stacy says, oh my, Melanie. One piece says, now that I think about it, I think my strawberries were doing that. They just seem to rot right away, or else bug got them. Okay. Okay, you were asking for the BT. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Melanie says she bought a pack for 4.99. Let's see. Okay, so Anwright is answering Stacy that she doesn't know why it is so hard. At least I think that was the question. Yes, so another tip regarding tomato, because sometimes you'll hear a situation where the tomato stems turn brown halfway up on the plant. So halfway up from the soil, around 10 to 12 inches, it will turn brown. And this is because of a fungus that is called verticillium wilt, and it affects things like tomatoes and peppers, and it can affect them at any stage in the growing season, but it mostly affects them when they start to produce fruits. So though the plant will be stunted once it have this verticillium wilt, it will still produce edible fruits. Now, this fungus tend to love cool, moist soil. So you want to ensure that when you're planting your tomatoes or peppers, it is in regions that are warm, in regions that or the soil is well drained. Now, after you've harvested your fruit from your tomatoes and peppers that develop this brown stem disease, you want to make sure that you destroy the plant. So you're not going to compost it. You're going to destroy the plant. If you don't have a means to destroy the plant, tie it in a plastic bag and throw it in your garbage bin. Now, after doing that, if you have containers that you grow in that are surrounding the area where these plants had the verticillium wilt, then you want to make sure that you sterilize both the soil and these containers, because you don't want the plants that you grow there for the next season to have this fungus. So you sterilize your soil and sterilize your containers as well. Again, do not compost the plant that is infected. See, Melanie says, when are you harvesting your sweet potatoes? I really want to do it this week. I really, really thought I would have had it done over the weekend, but time does not allow, and I have to try to get the most important things done first. And since as the sweet potatoes seem to be okay for now, I'm just allowing them a little bit more time to grow while I focus on the things that must be done while the weather is hot. Because by Thursday, we won't be having any temperatures above 20 unless it is sporadic. So I'm just trying to get all of my outdoor things done as quickly as possible. So hopefully by the end of by the end of the week, excuse me, I'll be able to harvest them. Let's see. Han says, Mom put the strawberry seeds in paper towel and covered them with a little amount of refined compost, and that tends to work. Okay, good. LP says, I'll be right back. Have to put birds to bed. They are getting rather unruly. Pit Stop said, that has happened to me, and I was wondering what was wrong. Probably too much water. Yeah. So now we're in a better position to try to prevent that from happening. Let's see. Han says we pay around £3 for about three strawberry plants. Wow, that's cheap. That's very cheap. They do come in a beautiful red basket. Nice. You pay what? $5 for one strawberry plant here. And that depends on the size of the strawberry plants too. If the strawberry plant is in like a 3-inch pot, then you pay $5 for it. If it is in a pot that is larger than 3-inch, like a 5-inch pot or a 6-inch pot, you know you're going to be paying like $9. Occasionally, you can find you might find two strawberries in there. So what I do to ensure that I maximize how much I get when I'm buying strawberry plants, I look for those that already have runners, because then the runner would be an additional plant. If it doesn't have runner, you bet I'm not buying it. Yeah, but £3 for three plants, that's really nice. Plus you get it in a nice red basket. We usually get it in those little plastic cups that as soon as you take out the strawberries out of it, they're broken. Or maybe you might get a one use out of them. But that's a very reasonable point. Price. Farming in the city says, boy, these diseases are a headache. I agree with you. There are so many of them that it is hard. You just can't know how many of them is out there. And some of them you can definitely prevent. Some of them you have no control over. But at least there are ways to treat or at least control some of them to an extent. So there is hope, despite whatever it is that is out there, there is some hope. And then the good thing is that even if the plants have it, even if it is stunted, you may still be able to harvest from the plant. So that's a good thing. Let's see. Farming in the city says she used neem oil to drench the soil. Okay. Yeah, I've never really used neem oil for that, but yeah, I'll have to look into that. I usually use hydrogen peroxide. Oh, hi, urban girl. How are you doing? Melanie says, that is why I will get those next year. Yes, my dear, go with whatever works because at the end of the day, what is important is having the plant. It's not how you, where you start, whether from seeds or seedlings. What is important is having the plant so you can harvest from it. I hope you're successful with that next year. Okay, Stacy saying hi to her bunny girl. So it's pit stop. Okay, and says, I'm for I'm for her to harvest hers before I harvest mine. Are you trying to harvest mom's strawberries, girl? Mm, because I don't really know. Oh, okay. You're talking about the sweet potatoes because I don't really know how much. Because don't really know much about sweet potatoes. Okay. Well, once you see the foliage starting to dry down, it's usually an indication that it is ready for harvesting. So that is your marker. Of course, sometimes by the time the leaves start drying down, you have really large sweet potatoes underneath there. Well, that's my experience in Jamaica. I don't know. Here, my potatoes are dragging their feet, as it were, taking forever. So I'm kind of anxious to get in there and see what's going on, if there's anything even worth harvesting. One of my red containers that I was growing the purple sweet potato or purple Japanese yam as they call it here. I harvested those from one of my red containers and they were so small. They were maybe about an inch or less thick and long for the most part. So between 4 inches and about 8 inches long. But they needed a little bit more time. Another month or so would have been nice. So I think if I'm going to be growing those purple Japanese yam, I'm going to be start and the sweet potatoes, I'm definitely going to be starting them earlier than I did this year. But I think I'm going to be growing less next year, just in case they don't do well, then all of that space is not wasted. Yes, I know. And white, that's about $5. Your 3 pounds is about $5 here. But then you get three plants and I get one for the same price. Yeah. But then everything in Saskatchewan. Guys, if you plan to move anywhere, don't come to Saskatchewan. Yes. The advantage to Saskatchewan is the amount of sunlight that we get because in the summer, this sunlight sunrise can be anywhere from in the 4 o'clock bells, and sunset can be 11 o'clock at night. So we have a long day, really, really long day. But then in the summer, in the winter, 4 o'clock outside in the evening, it's dark. 9 o'clock in the morning outside, it is dark. It is cold about 7 to 9 months out of the year. Some of those months, 6 months is cold, and then the other 7 to 9 months is brackish, like between warm and cold. So if you want to move anywhere, don't come to Saskatchewan. And if you're coming to Saskatchewan for a holiday, make sure that it is not in the winter. Your best bet would be July, June, July, and possibly and August, but outside of that, nah. And then your growing season is so short. Don't come to Saskatchewan. And then the other advantage is that I don't know if it is because we are so inland because Saskatchewan doesn't have any sea. We'd have to go to another province if we want to come in contact with the sea. We don't get a lot of natural disasters apart from snow related disasters. We don't really, and occasionally some areas might get tornado, but outside of that, we don't get natural disasters. But those are the advantages of being in Saskatchewan. There isn't much else that I can say. Well, maybe for people who like winter sports, then that would be a plus, but let's not stray away from the point. I don't like the cold, so I don't go outside for no sports in the summer, in the winter. Um, Melanie says, I will be looking out for your harvest too. I am addicted to potatoes and sweet potato harvest videos. Oh, okay. I didn't record that first harvest of the purple Japanese potatoes or sweet potatoes. Yeah, I didn't do a recording of it. I was just testing to see what's underneath there. I planted those maybe 2 weeks after I planted the first set, so hopefully there will be something worth harvesting. Let's see. All right, says this year was the worst for my garden. My beautiful, lovely sage died. Oh, those that sage was so beautiful as you rightly said. It was. I've never seen that sage before. Just in you're the only one I've ever seen with that type of sage. The leaves are so big. The plants grow big and nice. Mine, the sage that we get here, have very small leaves. All the varieties that we get here, that I know of course, because I don't go to all the garden centers, so I don't know if there are the large leaves one anywhere. But for those that I've seen, they're all small leaves varieties. Yeah, hopefully next year your garden will be better. I would be furious too, my dear. I would be furious too. Urban Girl says, yes, I'm not giving sweet potatoes that much space next season. Yeah, I know you had it rough with those pests. Wire worm, you said they were eating off your sweet potatoes. Yeah. Let's see. And says Saskatoon. That's my second slash third home. You love Saskatoon. Okay. Yes, you will love it because it's nice, really nice in the summer, but that's as far as it goes. Mm. Let's see. Melanie says, I have another set to harvest that I planted in July. Nice. Hope I have better luck with those. Yes, I hope you will definitely have success with that. Let's see. Melanie says, Stacy, have you ever tried planting sweet potatoes in Jamaica? Okay. So she does grow sweet potato. Oh, it is Italian. It was Italian sage. Okay. I have Italian basil, but I don't have Italian sage. I'll have to try and see. Can you send me some seeds if you can get them? Let's see. Stacy says I have planted no, but I'm wondering if anything growing. Well, make sure that the soil that you have it in, Stacy, is loose, have enough nutrients, and make sure you keep it moist. You want to make sure that you keep the soil moist, especially if you're growing in containers. In the ground, not so bad, because when we were growing sweet potatoes in Jamaica, we never watered them, not once. And we had some really, really, when I say really nice harvest, we've had sweet potatoes that the if you were to measure across it, some of them can be even 6 to 8 inches wide. So We've had some really nice harvests and we've never watered. But if you're growing in container, make sure you're giving them sufficient water. Let's see. Okay, Melanie is asking if you had success. Okay, welcome back, Helpy. Oh no, we never discussed that about me being almost at 900 subs. No. So thank you for all of you guys who are subscribed to my channel for your input in getting me there. I need 110, I think, to go, and I will get there eventually. I'm just taking my little time. Yeah, because sub for sub works in getting you subscribers, but then you don't end up with genuine subscribers. So for that reason, I tend not to do sub for sub, but if someone subscribe to my channel, I usually check out their channel. And if I like their channel, I'll subscribe back to them. If their channel is not something that I would watch, then I won't subscribe back to them. That is how I do it. If they want to unsubscribe, I'm okay with that. But if I'm not genuinely interested in someone's channel, I'm not going to subscribe to them. So, and I'd rather that those who are subscribing to my channel are genuine subscribers. Yes, and once I'm subscribed to your channel, I watch your videos. And if you're someone who subscribed to me to get the sub, and so you don't watch my videos, then I'm gonna be honest. If you don't watch my videos and you're the one who subscribed to me first, I don't watch yours either. That's the way I do it. But yes, I try not to do too much of the sub for sub because it gets you the sub, but it doesn't get you the hours. So for my channel, I am like 6,000 hours a month. So I'm good with the hours, but with the subs, it's kind of slow, but it's fine. I'll take my time and get there. Let's see. Okay, Urban Gill says Italian sage sounds delicious. It looks nice. It has some really, really large leaves, almost the size of the palm of my hand. Well, provided what I'm seeing in the videos I'm seeing accurately. So I'd really like to try it. What seeds do I need? The Italian sage that Han White was talking about. And well, Stacy's gonna try and see if she can get me some of those Jamaican corns because I don't like sweet corns, as most of you may know by now. Cowpeas is very hard for me. I've never been able to find cowpeas, and I really like cowpeas. So if you can find that, if you have access to that in your region, then I'd be thankful. Let's see. And White says, if my sweet potatoes don't do well, I will not grow them again. Okay. Well, you've had a reasonable amount of growing time, so if they don't do well, I wouldn't. I can see why you wouldn't want to grow them again. Okay, Melanie says, come to Niagara Falls. I don't mind that. Oh, I'd be there. I'd be there like right now. And especially since I love waterfalls. Yeah, I'd come so that I can go and look at the fall every now and then. I would love to see it in the winter as well. Let's see. Urban Girl says, we're planning a trip to Niagara Falls for next year. Nice. And says, yes, Kiki, it was a lovely sage. Melanie says, Kiki, great. Hope we can link up. Urban Girl says, another seed added to the list. Oh, yes. There are lots of seeds that are going to be added to my list this year. Yes, if I can, once I can come across, I want that brown Jamaican Scotch bonnet pepper. I want the seeds. Definitely want the seeds for that one. Okay, Urban Girl said that will be cool, Melanie. Urban Girl says YouTube took 30 subs from me last week. Yes, there are times when YouTube consider subs as being sub for sub, and once YouTube can prove that they are sub for sub, they're going to take them away. So for people who sub to you, and when they sub to you, they use expression like "I support you," "Come and support me," or "Stay in touch," or things like "I am new subscriber here." Anybody who subscribe to you and use any form of expression like that, YouTube is going to say, okay, this is a sub for sub. And if the person is known by YouTube as someone who does a lot of sub for sub, then they're going to constantly watch that person. And so if that person is subscribed to you, and once they leave any form of comment like that, YouTube is going to take them away. And a lot of people are aware of that, but they still send these comments to you anyway. So if someone subscribe to me and say, okay, new subscriber here, I'm going to subscribe back to that person and say, new subscriber here. That means when YouTube take their subscription from me, they're going to take mine from them too. Or if they say new subscriber here, I just don't subscribe to them, because a lot of people are aware that once you leave any form of spamming comment, YouTube is going to take the subscription away. So that is one of the reasons why I don't necessarily do sub for sub, because you work hard to do sub for sub, because you have to check out people's channel and all of that hard work that goes into it, and then YouTube take them away. I remember last year YouTube went on a massive hunt for those sub for sub, and people were on my channel with like 900 subscribers, and all of a sudden they were like 400 subscribers, 300 subscribers. I'm like, what happened? And then you hear a lot of YouTubers start saying they're losing subs. But yes, the sub for sub thing, it can really be a tricky one. Carmen, Melanie says, no, Stacy says, Melanie, I am waiting on them. He says, that makes sense. Hats off to you and sticking to it. Okay, thanks, my dear. LP says, Kiki, that's crazy. Urban Girl says, tell me about it. Yes, YouTube definitely they watch out for these things. Their algorithm is programmed to see all of these are the comments that are considered to be spam. And if you are someone who is doing sub for sub, there are those who hide their subscription, and because they hide their subscription, if someone subscribe to you, you don't know that they subscribe to you. So even if you would sub back, you cannot sub back to them. But if you are someone who hide your subscription and you're into sub for sub, you can subscribe to someone and let them know you subscribe without saying anything that YouTube would consider to be a spam. You could just simply watch one of their videos, you subscribe to them, and just says, I really like your channel. And then you make sure that the you watch not just that one video, but the videos that come after that, because once you do that, then the person can see that you are subscribed to them because you're following their channel. So there's no need for people to be leaving these spamming comments, but that's how it is. That's how it is. It's just sad to see those who are doing sub for sub losing the subscribers after having to work so hard to get them. Let's see. Stacy says, I'm going through the process to get them their host. Okay, yes, thank you, my dear. Just keep me posted as to what I need to do. Let's see, LB says, sorry and white and pit stop about your plant losses. That's always sad. Yes, indeed. Pitstop says, I look to see if I have any of them. I have copies, half a packet. Send me your address. Okay. I don't have your contact information, Pitstop. Would I be able to find it on your channel? If not, you can contact me because in my description, whether my live or videos, my email address is always listed below. So if I check out your channel and I don't see your information, sorry, then you can find my email that way. Russell says, are Jamaican corns shorter? Are they the corns the size of fingertips? No, actually, they are not short. They are usually around 8 or more inches long. They're very fat. They're very fat, and there are more than one varieties, but the good thing about them is that they're not sweet corns. They are more waxy. Yeah, they're more waxy than the sweet corn. I've never seen those ones that grow to the size of a fingertip. Of course, I've had corn that grow to the size of a fingertip, but it is because they are young. The flint corn, because flint corn taste somewhat similar to the corns we are used in Jamaica, although Canadians in my regions don't eat flint corn. They use it only for decoration, but it is edible. Yes, so I grow flint corn because it kind of remind me of the corns we get in Jamaica. But the thing with it is it gets hard, really, really hard, very fast. So when you have it on your plant, as soon as you see the silk of the corn starting to turn brown, you better harvest it or else it's going to be so hard you won't be able to do anything much with it except plant it again. But it's pretty good. Stacy says, just unbelievably long process, and then they are saying the seeds will be tested last. Oh, okay, okay. And White says, I bought the sage plant and I'm waiting for the herb center to have it again. Oh, okay. Well, now that I know it is the Italian sage, I probably can look it up online and see if I can get the seeds for it. Okay, LP says, Stacy, that's a crazy complicated process you have to go through. Yeah. And then he says, I will send you the black eyed peas. Some people call them copies. Okay. Yes, we know it has the copies. Glad you can at least get another unwhite. Pit Stop says YouTube takes our subs and hours. Wow, that is sad. I don't really know if I'm losing hours. I'm not losing subs. I don't know if I'm losing hours because once I see that I am making more than the 4,000 required hours, I stop paying attention to the hours. I don't know if I'm losing hours. Maybe I should start monitoring that to see what's going on if I'm losing because I've heard of others losing hours as well. But I know that if you watch your own videos, you will lose hours. And there might be other reasons for you to lose hours as well. So I don't know. Stacy says, and the thing is, you can't send what you want. And the thing is, you can't send what you want. You have to choose what's on their list. Really? Oh, okay. Interesting. Mhm. But I guess that makes sense still because with the amount of plant pathogens and stuff like that that is out there, you don't really want pathogens to be traveling from one place to a location where it didn't exist before. because that is where trouble really starts. So I can understand where they're coming from, but then the process is so complicated and time consuming. LP says, I've seen that in the comments before. People say, hey, I'm here. I'm here now. Come see me. That just seems so rude, honestly. I agree with you, LB. It is rude, and sometimes they say that and they don't even say anything about your video. It's just about telling you to come and visit their channel. Now, when I see comments like that, I don't even bother to reply to it. Yes, because I mean, if you want the person to check out your channel, the least you can do is watch the video and make a comment about the video. Then you can invite the person. But even if you invite the person after watching the video, YouTube is going to say it is a spam. So what I do is, if I see you are new to my channel and you watch my video, I go and I check out your channel. If you're someone who produce videos, then I'll watch your video. Even if I'm not subscribed to you, I'll watch your video and leave a comment. So, because you have to be reasonable, the person spend the time to watch your channel. So, if they are producing, then sometimes the video might be something you're not really interested in. So, if that is the case, I'll just watch one of that person's video and that's it. And then the sub for sub thing, it is really hard because if you do sub for sub, every time you have to constantly watch that person's video and they have to constantly watch yours. And if you do sub for sub and you gain, say, 200 subscribers from doing sub for sub, it means now you have 200 videos that you have to watch every time that person puts out a video, those persons put out a video. And if they do videos weekly, it means 200 videos you have to watch every single week. Of course, if there are topics that you're not interested in, naturally you're not going to watch that, or you might try to watch it just to be supportive. But yes, that is one of the drawbacks of doing sub for sub, which is why I try to avoid it as much as possible. And then it burns out your eyes. See, now I'm wearing glasses. Yeah, so it's just too much screen time. So one of the things that I do, if I find that I'm subscribed to someone and they're subscribed to me and I don't have time to watch their videos, I'll just play the video while I'm doing breakfast or while I'm doing a chore and I'm listening. If there's a point made that is interesting and I want to see what they're talking about, then I'll just look at the device to see what it is they're talking about. But sometimes you don't have the time to sit and watch all those videos. That's just the way life is. But anyway, guys, it has been a lovely live, and I have work in 6 minutes. So I'm gonna be saying goodbye to you guys after I read some of these comments. The good thing is that I control the time when I go to work, so it's not as if I can be late, but at the same time, I'd like to get started fairly early. Let's see. Urban Girl says, I wasn't even active last week because my family was sick. They took every sub that came. Oh, wow. That's rough. Pitstop says, my mom never leaves a comment and YouTube unsubscribe my own mom from me. Sometimes that is a glitch. Sometimes YouTube do have glitches. So, yeah. Because I have people who I'm subscribed to, and all of a sudden I am not subscribed to that person anymore. And I don't leave spam comments on anybody's channel unless they do it to me. And sometimes, even if they do it to me, I don't even bother to just don't reply. And sometimes I'll just find that I'm no longer subscribed to the person, and I'm wondering, like, why am I not seeing any videos from this person? Or one of the things that I do when I subscribe to someone is that I always try to turn on my notification so that when they upload, I can know. And sometime for months, I'm not seeing anything. I'm like, why am I not seeing anything from this person? Are they not doing videos? And then all of a sudden, there will be I'm scrolling on my phone and I'm seeing, oh, this person uploaded 3 weeks ago, this person uploaded yesterday, and there's no notification. And in the last couple of months, that has been happening quite a lot. So I don't know if YouTube is glitching or if they're deliberately, but technology, anything that is man made, is going to have errors. So that is to be expected. But it would be nice if they could get it sorted out, because sometimes some of these videos that you're missing out on are videos that you really want to see. So it can be frustrating. Yeah, it can be frustrating. Let's see. And White says YouTube has been taking away my hours. I have lost over 100 hours the last 3 weeks. I'm insanely mad. I would be mad too. I'd be very mad. Yeah, especially if you're not watching your own channel where you could say, okay, I'm watching my own channel, so that's what YouTube taking. If that's not the case, then I'd be very mad too. Let's see. LP says, no, Urban Girl says, LP, that is rude and I don't respond to those comments. I don't like that at all. LP says, I'm right, that's terrible. I'm mad. I'd be mad too. Urban Girl says, oh no, Anne. Seriously? Yes, it is. It is rather crazy. 100 hours is that's brutal. I mean, how hard you have to work to get 100 hours. Let's see. Um, Stacy is asking Hannah if she runs her own video, run her own hours. I don't think so. Or anyone. Yeah. No. I don't watch my own videos because I know YouTube tell you that the hours that you watch your own videos will not be counted among the time that is required to be monetized. So I don't bother to waste time watching my own videos. And White says I don't do sub for sub because most people don't really watch my channel because it's gluten free. Pit Stop says I'm sorry about what you're going through, hon. Melanie says I think I have about 3 subs. I don't mind. Hmm, I don't mind. I am just experimenting. Okay. Urban Girl says, and I watch your channel because it's gluten free. So does my daughter. Oh, Urban Girl, speaking of your daughter, your older daughter, oh my goodness, she's a splitting image of you. Just the younger version. Okay, and says, so I'm okay. I lost where I am. Okay, I lost where I am. Okay, and wife says, so I'm okay with it. My hours are great for the few views I've got, but no YouTube are messing with that. Okay, and Pit Stop says, I watch your channel for that exact reason, and I share your channel with most as I have vegan family that enjoy your recipes. Melanie says she watches Han videos too. Stacy says, Han, some people just don't know about you yet. That is the thing, it's just a matter of time. And then because one of the things I like about your channel is that the videos are informative. And apart from being informative, I like the fact that you like to create your own recipe. So you're not just copying everything else that everybody else is doing. So I really, really like that about your channel. And the meals always look They make people hungry. All those colors and the way you organize the dish, they make people hungry just looking at it. So it's just a matter of time before people actually know about your channel and your channel starts growing pretty well. LP says, I'm not vegan or gluten, but I like healthy foods and want to introduce more variety into my diet. I want to cook more too, so I appreciate seeing what you cook. LP says, it's on my to-do list to revisit recipes. Okay, farming in the city with Stacy says, when you run your own hours, use another account. Also, clear your watch history each time you run your playlist. My sister is vegan and I start to send links and I sent her a link to your channel. Okay, and says when I'm sending seeds or plants to Canada, I just send other things in the package and only mention what I believe they won't care nor check. Okay. Okay, so Stacy is asking whether you use the post office or FedEx. Okay. LP says, this is a lovely life, thank you. Oh, you're welcome, my dear. It's thanks not only to me, but to all of you participating in the life, because without you, the life could not be a success. So, thanks to everyone. Sometimes watching YouTube is like homework for me. Last night, I fell asleep watching a live. Melanie said, it was nice hanging out with you guys. And White says, I didn't know that, Kiki. I know that you do watch my channel, and I'm grateful. Thank you so very much. LP says, no, Stacy says, true LP. Urban Girl said, they demonetized my live from Sunday, and I had to request a human review. I won. Oh, good for you. Good for you, girl. As far as I'm aware, I've only ever been unsubscribed from someone once, maybe twice. Farming in the City says, they do to me that at times, sister, I leave it for a few and they put it back. Okay. I'm glad you fought it, Urban Girl. Why did they do that? Are you serious, Urban Girl? That was an active live as far as I was aware. Congrats on your win. They will tell you that your video is irrelevant for ad page. Oh, okay. Interesting. Oh Lord, I'm trying to keep up with these comments, but I'm running out of time. Okay. Okay, you think someone tried to get your video down? That's crazy. Why would they do that? Okay, so Stacy never had to do a human review because they gave it back to her. Okay. So LP says Han White's video make her hungry as well. Melanie says, I am new to this YouTube thing, so I just here listening to you guys. Some of my videos are doing amazingly well in the last few months. Well, since May, and I believe that's why they are taking them away. Okay. Yeah, because if they see sudden changes on something that wasn't doing well, they like to check out to see what's going on. Is it a fraud or is it genuine? If they think it is genuine, then you will get it back. But if not, Whether it's genuine yes or no, as long as they can't prove it is, you will end up losing it. Okay. You think it someone did it because of how specific the violation was. Okay. Maybe they tried to put a report on you. That's crazy. Yeah, there are always going to be haters. That is so true. There's nothing you can do about that, really. You just have to make sure that whatever you put out there is your video and it is genuine, and make sure that you do your best to avoid anything that could be a violation. Because once you can prove yourself to be innocent, then all is well. Of course, it is frustrating because you have to waste time trying to get things sorted out, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure you're the one who is in the right. Yeah, so anyway, guys, I'm going to be saying goodbye to you now because I have to go to work. Thanks for a lovely live and all your participation. I hope that you guys have a lovely week, and I hope to see you again on Friday. So take care, stay safe,